I just can't help when I hear that phrase, but it's inevitable.
I am inevitable.
To think, what if the Avengers thought, Thanos is right, he's inevitable, so we might as well just live with him? That would be really pathetic, wouldn't it?
Dude, you're on your own!
Hi, I'm Justin Barrett, president of Blueprint 1543. I'm a former university professor and psychological scientist. In this episode, I want to talk about curbing your tech enthusiasm. Is technology inevitable, and how should we be responding to new technologies? That's the general space. As always, like, subscribe, forward, share this content with people you think would find it valuable or interesting. And by all means, submit your comments and questions, topics that you'd like to hear us cover. Think of this as the first in a series, hopefully, of episodes that we'll do that talk about technology and our reception of new technologies. What should be our stance toward them? When should we be cautious versus enthusiastic about them? Are there any principles that'll help guide us? Maybe principles that we glean from our value system, our theology, and or the sciences themselves. That's what we're about. And I'm kind of revisiting the topic of my Riddell Lectures. In 2024, I was invited to give the annual Riddell Lectures at Newcastle University in the United Kingdom. It was a great time, and that was my title, is Curb Your Tech Enthusiasm. And that's where I'm going to start. The claim that we often hear when there's a new piece of technology rolling out, maybe especially ones that we feel a little uncomfortable with, we're not sure this is a good thing or not. I think we often hear talking heads say things like, but tech is inevitable, or progress is inevitable. And so what they're really trying to say with those kinds of comments is we kind of just need to get out of the way, stop complaining about it, and figure out how to live with it.
Ha! You really should have thought of that before you became peasants. We're through here. Take him away. Next!
But okay.
I want to challenge that thinking. I think that defeatist thinking is wrong-headed, and we can do a whole lot better with our thinking than just, it's inevitable. And then we're going to talk about what are some steps, maybe to discourage or be reluctant in the face of new technologies that really need that kind of reluctance. But just to prime your thinking, I just can't help when I hear that phrase, but it's inevitable. To think, what if the Avengers thought, Thanos is right, he's inevitable, so we might as well just live with him? That would be really pathetic, wouldn't it?
Dude, you're on your own!
And I don't think we should be like that. Let's not let Thanos win, or new technologies that are going to ruin our lives.
What doesn't kill me just makes me stronger.
Two easy ways to demonstrate that no piece of technology is inevitable is considering, well, what are those conditions or causes to bring about a new technology? Consider the history of these technologies. Isn't it the case that for a new piece of technology to get developed, to get to market, to spread widely, it actually requires a whole lot of special conditions, none of which are inevitable? Innovative thinkers,
like the holographic system I designed, a revolutionary breakthrough with limitless applications that Tony turned into a self-therapy machine and renamed
Binarily Augmented Retroframing, or BARF.
He renamed my life's work, BARF.
certain amount of manufacturing effort.
This is the next me.
You can't build a living body.
You can. You can. You lack the materials.
Marketing.
Is that Justin Hammer?
Right leg up!
How did Hammer get
Hey!
the game? Yeah, I'd say most countries 5-10 years away. Hammer Industries 20.
And maybe just the right kind of fit with what the public is demanding at that moment in time.
Including this heater.
Whoa. That's better. Thanks.
If any of you have watched, say, Shark Tank, you know there are all kinds of ideas for new technologies, new innovations that might get rolled out, but the investors go, meh, you haven't done your marketing work, or nah, the production isn't where I want it to be, or whatever it is. Lots of different kinds of conditions have to obtain before a new technology will roll out. It's certainly not inevitable. And we can look historically at examples like, say, steam-powered cars. Well, about 100 years, more than 100 years ago now, steam-powered cars were a new technology, an innovation. But I have a feeling that neither you nor I have ever driven a steam-powered car because they just didn't go anywhere. They weren't inevitable after all, even if some people thought they were. Much to, I think, most people's surprise, so were electric cars. Electric cars were invented an awful long time ago, right around the time at gas-powered cars. And they didn't go anywhere either. They were not inevitable, at least not then. Maybe they're not inevitable now, even. I'm not going there. I'm just saying it's not always obvious what's going to be inevitable because very special conditions have to obtain. Now, why then do reasonably intelligent people keep telling us that certain technologies are, they're just inevitable? Well, notice that often calling something inevitable becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's a clear way to try to push aside any kind of reluctance or discouragement that you might get. Don't resist me, it's inevitable. That's what Thanos was doing after all.
I am inevitable.
Just give up now. It's inevitable. It's trying to get any kind of resistance to retreat. A lot of times, the people who are telling us that a particular piece of technology is inevitable, well, they've got a vested interest in seeing that technology succeed. Now, maybe it's not because they're part of the inventors or that they've invested in the company or whatever it is, but they might be part of, say, a media group that is going to indirectly benefit from that kind of technology developing. Usually those talking heads, those pundits, those commentators who we hear talking about the inevitability of certain kinds of technologies, well, they're what we in the sciences would call a biased sample. They work for companies that exist on the backs of advertising for new products. So if they decide that, no, these new products are not inevitable, well, their advertisers aren't going to like that because their advertisers are advertising those new products. So they have an invested interest in driving interest in new products. You know, some of those who are calling something inevitable are looking for investors or sales.
Shut up and take my money.
They want you to have FOMO about the new product. They want you to go, oh, it's inevitable. I have to go out and get one because everybody's doing it, whether or not that's true. Or the people that saying that it's inevitable are working on some particular kind of tech themselves, right? And they're trying to push it for a particular reason. So there are lots of different reasons why somebody might think that doing something is inevitable. They might want to sell that because it garners support for the effort that they're doing. Even within Christian churches have a weird churchy version of this, the tech is inevitable kind of mentality. And that's when we adopt new technologies under the claim that it's inevitable by saying, so we Christians need to get out there too. Okay, so the church needs to learn this new technology because we can't be left behind and then be irrelevant. We need to be on the cutting edge of culture, so we need to get there. Maybe this new technology can help reach disciples for Christ, or whatever the story is. Again, we're falling into that, and we can't resist it, so we better get on board. I think another really easy way to show that most of these tech inventions or new interventions are not inevitable is just because, well, think about all the things in your house. They don't represent all of the things that have been purchased, that could be purchased, that have been invented. I mean, this one's a little bit of maybe off color slightly kind of example, but there are lots of sort of sex toys and things that have been invented that presumably not all of us use. And those aren't inevitable then because, well, you're not investing in them, among other things, right? There are lots of technologies out there that you and I don't have that have been invented. And maybe they're only used in a tiny niche market. So it's not inevitable, at least, that they're going to become widespread and part of our cultural fabric.
I am inevitable.
That's just a warm-up act. No tech is inevitable, but it is certainly the case that some kinds of technology are more readily able to spread, to get a strong hold in our sort of collective psychology and our culture such that they are likely to spread rapidly. And those are the ones, if they have negative consequences, that we need to anticipate and get out in front of anticipate which are the ones that really are going to spread rapidly. And if they happen to be a bad thing, that we can be, whoa, let's tap the brakes on those things so that they aren't inevitable after all, so that we can slow them down, so we can figure out how to respond to them appropriately. If they're going to be fantastic and spread well, then let's get behind and push. But let's be prudent about the tech and not just write it all off as inevitable. That's defeatist attitude, and that's not the way that we're going to manage to contribute to a good world that we want to live in for ourselves, for our children, and our grandchildren. I hope that whets your appetite for this discussion that we will continue about how to be tech prudent, and I will return to this topic in future episodes. As always, like, subscribe, leave your comments. Praise is welcome, as well as criticisms of a constructive sort, and even some hostilities if you've got good intentions behind them. Thanks for joining me again, and look for more episodes in this series on how to be tech prudent. Curb your tech enthusiasm. See you soon. Justin Barrett.